What is up, it's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. This is gonna be my May wrap up. Alright y'all, I'm sweating because I just gathered all these books, ripped up all these pieces of paper for my reread, rewrite, burn May wrap up. I'm on a time crunch as usual for these sit down videos because Joey is out grocery shopping and he has to be back in time for our unmuted and unhinged sprints, which we do on Patreon. Patreon links are always down below. We have this exclusive merch, we have exclusive sprints, exclusive videos, we have a Discord, readathons, buddy reads, all the good things. We're vampire themed, we're called the Lair. Links are down below. I'm gonna close this window even though it feels so good outside. I'll leave one open, but I just didn't want to be screaming. It feels like fall outside. I'm in a great mood. I'm gonna film this. We have 34 books to talk about. If you are new here, I do my wrap-ups in the reread, rewrite, burn method, where I pull little slips of paper with the title out from this Stitch mug. I use the same mug in every video, and I say whether I would reread, rewrite, or burn them. So basically, fuck, marry, kill, but make it bookish. All right? Okay. But I start every wrap-up with a recap super quickly. Like I said, I read 34 books in May. I don't know what happens. That's the most I've ever read in a month, so yay me. I did not calculate the number of pages I read. Granted, I know I shouldn't be making this disclaimer because a book's a book's a book, but I did listen to audiobooks, read some manga, a couple graphic novels, but regardless, even aside from all that, I'm still at 20 plus books, so still good. But like I said, nothing is dismissed here. All effort is good effort. All books are books in any format. Okay? Okay, just making that clear. But I do keep track of my page count every day in my journal. It was Junji Ito themed this month, but I do keep track and I try to read at least 100 pages a day every single day. I don't feel like adding them up right now. Number of BIPOC authors, 25 out of 34, which is really fucking good. I think that's the most BIPOC authors I've ever read in a month because I primarily wanted to read Asian authors for AAPI Heritage Month. As a Filipino woman, I wanted to support Asian authors as much as I could, with the exception of some like book club picks, including my own. I do run a book club by myself. It's called the Full Moon Book Club. Links for that form and newsletter and everything is down below in the same Google form, so I could put faces to names, get to know you a little bit, have you give me some future book club suggestions potentially. So that's all down below. All our live shows are on the full moon of every month. Best book of the month. Are we surprised? Finally finished Babel. I started this in November and I knew it was going to be 5 stars from like page 1, literally. Before I even had this book in my hands, I knew it was going to be 5 stars. This is incredible. It's not for everyone in the sense that it's very dense. It's a lot about linguistics. It reads like a textbook, but like in the best way. And then there's like a thrillery aspect in there. There are friendships and betrayals and a lot of history, and there's some magic in there as well. This is pitches of fantasy. It's like a historical fantasy. There's a lot about language and where words come from, and I just found every single word so freaking fascinating. Every single page of this book was just immaculate. R.F. Kong is, I always say this, is one of the most intelligent authors out there in my opinion. I don't know where she comes up with this, but the magic system involves silver and words, and it's just incredible. 5 stars from the get-go. It's my most tabbed book ever. Yeah, I just knew it would be my best book of the month, and it only took me so long because I started it and then I was like, oh my god, my brain hurts, but I love it, so I'm gonna take my time on this. And then I started this project where I only read it at coffee shops. That took a while. It was never like a video or anything. It was just like throughout several vlogs because I do vlog a lot on this channel. If it even interests you in the very slightest, I suggest trying it at least. The audiobook helps. There are a lot of footnotes, but in the audiobook they change narrators, or voices at least. I'm not sure if they change narrators, but yeah, I just like annotated all over. I wrote a page of notes. I will be rereading this someday, but not for at least a couple years. My worst book of the month was The Girl from the Other Side Volume 9. This is a manga series that I finished this month. There are 12 volumes total. Volume 9 I gave 1 star. It was my only 1 star this month. It was my only 1 star in a while, but this one in particular just stood out to me because if you know me, you know I hate anything pregnancy related, baby related. Can't do it, right? And this one had full spreads involving a fetus, this, and that's all I'm gonna say. I just was not having a good time with this, but I was like, obviously I want to finish a series, so I can't DNF volume fucking 9. I will say that I think I read, I don't know, maybe 6 volumes in this month from this series, so they all kind of mesh together, not gonna lie, except that the first 3 and then the 12th one are the ones that pretty much stood out to me, that I gave more than 3 stars. But it's a cutesy little manga series, and I just wanted to disclaim that every time I pull it out of this mug, I'll probably burn it, because I'm gonna be like, okay, I don't even remember what happened. It's a manga series. I probably won't reread this series again, other than maybe the first volume and the last volume, because the last volume were like short stories between this monster and this little girl, and their dynamic, the dichotomy and juxtaposition between them and their relationship is just so cute and wholesome. But then the plot strayed into like heavier plot involving humans and like the outside world and everything, so that part I really didn't like about the series. I just wanted to focus on this isolated household with this monster and this girl. That's that on that. My nonfiction pick of the month, I always try to read at least one nonfiction a month, and I've been successful thus far since the beginning of 2022, so really proud of that. But this month I read What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu. I listened to it mostly on audio, so I didn't annotate in this, but I will be rereading this, mainly because, well, okay, the writing's pretty good too. I did compare it. I know it's weird to compare memoirs, but like the writing style and the tone felt like Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Also the heaviness of it. It's different traumas, but the weight of it and like the feeling of it, that's so weird, like comparing memoirs. It's like comparing people's lives. It's weird. But anyway, this one had a guy named Joey. If you didn't know, my boyfriend's name is Joey, and in this memoir she talks about how Joey was like the first man who really understood her and really got her and really treated her right, because no one understood her traumas, no one took the time and effort to like just get it and like be patient with her and dealing with it and coping with everything the way she knows how to do. But that's not the main part. The main part is her navigating complex PTSD after a very traumatic childhood and traumatic relationships and everything. So do look up trigger warnings. This is a very heavy memoir, but it was so good. 5 stars. Next we have the buzzword of the month. So Kayla from Books and Lala here on BookTube hosts an annual like reading challenge called Buzzwordathon, and every month she picks like a category or a word that you read books with that word or category or whatever in the title. So this month's buzzword was like spices and herbs and flavors. So I read Garlic and the Vampire, which was 5 stars. It's a graphic novel. It's super cute. It has this anxious little garlic clove, and she's just everything. She meets a vampire, and it was just so fucking cute. I also read Garlic and the Witch, which is a sequel to Garlic and the Vampire. Gave that one 4 stars. Obviously I'm biased towards vampires, you know, the lair, but I also love witches. It just wasn't as good as Garlic and the Vampire in my opinion. I also read The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. This is Joey's copy. He got it from a book box called The Abominable Book Club, and I just love this cover. I'm so glad I didn't pay $22 for it, because the entire box he said was $24. I'm glad he got it in his box. He DNF'd it, so this is now my copy. But The Salt Grows Heavy gave this one 4 stars. This is like a fantasy horror involving like a plague doctor and a mermaid, and it has some like really good quotes, like feminist quotes, and also really brutal body horror. I really enjoyed this one. I read it in like one sitting late at night, and it was a gruesome fun time. Also try to read at least one book on my Kindle, because I do have Kindle Unlimited, and sometimes I forget I even have a Kindle, so I like to make that loose goal for myself. And I read Highway with Green Apples. This was a short little story about this 25-year-old basically navigating life, and it was just like a little vignette of life. Nothing big happened at all, but I love mundane stories like that. I love a good literary fiction, contemporary, about a messy 20-year-old. This one wasn't really messy. It had some good quotes. It was like 50 pages or something, so it was super quick. It was by an Asian author, so I decided to pick it up. She talked about love and relationships and just going through life as a 20-something-year-old. 500 plus pages is another loose goal of mine. I try to read more chunky books because big books intimidate me, so I try to read at least one a month, but it's not like a goal that I speak out in the universe. It's just in my journal. Obviously I read Babel. That is it. I didn't read a classic this month. That's another loose, very loose goal. I think I've read 2 this year, maybe 1. I don't know. I know I read Dracula this year. Okay, let's start. We have 34 books, so we have 6 rounds. Wait. 6 rounds. 6 times 3 is 18. No. Holy shit. No, we have 10, 11 rounds, and holy shit, I can't do math. I don't know why I kept wanting to say 6 rounds. 7 times 5 is 35. So I was like, wait, why am I multiplying by 5? It's 3 per round. Okay, moving on. This is gonna be the longest wrap up ever because I've never read this many books. So we have A Constellation of Roses by Miranda Acevedo. I got this in a blind date with a book. I did vlog this for YouTube, I believe. Yeah, because the Patreon one was Temper. And then we have Goth by Atsuichi. This is Joey's copy. I read that for a Patreon 24-hour readathon from start to finish, and it was a fun, spooky time. And then we have this I listened to on audio, What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. So I would burn that because I gave that one 2 stars. It was my first Kate Alice Marshall. I do own Rules for Vanishing, so I do want to read that and give her a second chance, but this one was her adult debut, and I think it showed just a little. I just could not connect with the characters. I really didn't care. There was this weird like mythology situation with this serial killer, and I couldn't tell you. I just did not enjoy it. I just wanted to finish it because it was a book troop book club pick. So Gabby from Gabby Reads' book club, she really loved it. I wanted to see if I loved it, and I did not. But I finished my my paint by numbers while listening to this, so there's that memory attached to it. But I would burn that. Oh, fuck. I would also burn this, but I would rewrite this. It's very redundant. There's this metaphor that she keeps using with her scars, and like I said in my vlog, I have my fair share of scars, okay, and I love a good like self-love metaphor and like resilience metaphor, but it was just overdone in this book, and I did empathize with the character. I just feel like also there wasn't enough magic in this, and this was pitched to me as a fantasy, and I just wanted more like witchiness and less human problems, you know. It did have some heavy topics. I was intrigued pretty much the whole time. I needed the audiobook to get through it though. I read it in one day, but I'm actually selling this, so if you're interested, it's gonna be on my Pango, which is always linked down below. And then I would reread Goth because I did enjoy this. I gave this 4 stars. Oh wait, I gave A Constellation of Roses, I think 2 stars as well. This is a series of short stories about this girl named Marino, and she really reminded me of Tomie, and I freaking love Tomie by Junji Ito, as you can see. Joey's here, so I'm gonna pause and help him with groceries. I'll be back in a sec. All right, we're back. Next 3, we have Spy Family Volume 6, which is another manga series. Whisper Down the Lane by Clay MacLeod Chapman, which I read for Kayla's Literally Dead book club. Was it this month? Yeah, this month we had the live show. And then the third one is The Empress of Time by Kylie Lee Baker. Hands down, would reread The Empress of Time. Love this freaking duology. Kylie Lee Baker is now one of my favorite YA fantasy authors. This is a sequel to The Keeper of Night, which was, I think it was on my top 10 of 2021. But I finally read the sequel. I got this like the day it came out, and I was like, it's time. And I loved it, gave it 5 stars. Kylie Lee Baker's writing makes me actually visualize things, which is so hard for me to do, if you know me. But like the way she just portrays imagery and all these like yokai demons and the world and like Japan. So it's about this half Japanese Shinigami, half British Reaper. In this one, she has a mission to rescue a family member. There's also a little bit of romance. There's the whole identity thing from like not feeling like you belong because she's, you know, half British Reaper, half Japanese Shinigami. There are all these kills and deaths happening because she's like taking all these souls, and then there are all these action scenes. Really freaking good. I highly recommend The Keeper of Night if you haven't read it already, and if you're into YA fantasy, and it's by an Asian author, so there you go. Whisper Down the Lane I would rewrite. It's hard to say something that like we didn't say on the live show already, so I will link that live show down below, but I would rewrite it. I'm gonna steal something Kayla said on the live show, where she said that the author didn't really talk about how, I don't remember what she said. There was something she said about like victim blaming and believing the victim and things like that, because this is pretty much just from the perspective of like truths being misconstrued during the satanic panic, based on true crime. It's a horror. There are a bunch of trigger warnings, some gore, there's animal abuse, but it was an interesting story. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed the reveals and everything, and it was a super quick read, and it made me uncomfortable, and I think it did what it was meant to do. And then I would burn Spy Family Volume 6 because I actually DNF'd Volume 8 in this, and I decided I'm not going to continue with the series. I wasn't having a good time past like Volume 4, basically up until they got the dog into the families. So it's about this spy who's on a mission to like create this like fake family. So he finds this woman who is an assassin, and then this kid pretends to be their child. Her name's Anya. She's a telepath and she's cute and wholesome and has spunk to her. Yeah, we just like go day to day with this family. The dude has new missions to fulfill with this family. So it was a fun time for, like I said, 3 or 4 volumes, and then after that I was done. I was bored and I finally decided to stop because I was like, why the fuck am I putting myself through this, you know? I read a couple Spy Family volumes, so just know that I'm gonna burn all of them. But the next 3, The Bandit Queens by Perini Schroth, Happy Place by Emily Henry, Spy Family Volume 5, which, like I said, automatically a burn. I would rewrite Happy Place. I did a dedicated reading vlog. It's spoiler free, but if it's up before this wrap up, which I'm sure it will be, I'll have it linked down below. But I would rewrite this, cutting it shorter, taking out some of the friendship scenes. I didn't really care. I thought the banter was weak between the friends. The banter between the love interests was okay, but not in the beginning. The beginning, I was like, okay, is this still Emily Henry? But it did get better, and I liked the end and all the discussions with like growing up and not knowing what you're gonna do after college and growing apart from college friends and people you thought you would, you know, be close with your entire life, and then like career changes and things like that. So that part of the book is what's making me keep this on my shelves. Otherwise, I'm like 3 stars by. But I gave this 4 stars. These 2 exes didn't tell their friends that they broke up already, but it's like their last time that they could go to this cottage or whatever, lake house, I don't know. And so they were both invited. They haven't told their friends yet, so they had to pretend that they were still together. But it didn't feel like they broke up. There was obviously still chemistry between them from the very start. So I don't know. There was something about it that was just off for me. And I knew that this would not top Beach Read in any way, shape, or form. Beach Read is my favorite Emily Henry, and then it goes, I think I said this in my vlog, my ranking for her adult romances, but Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, Happy Place, and then Book Lovers. So that's that. I would rewrite that, and then I would reread The Bandit Queens. This is about this group of women in this little village in India. The main character is accused of murdering her husband, so she has this reputation, and then so all these other women who aren't necessarily her friends, but they come to her for like help. So they want to murder their husbands, but they want to make it look like an accident, so they ask her for help. Is all I'm trying to say. Jesus. This does explore some heavy topics, but it's very nonchalant because in this little village, it's like normal for them. It's everyday, casual. These husbands abuse them, treat them like shit. To them, it's just marriage. Like, so they talk about it as if it's just everyday, normal thing. So it kind of catches you off guard at first, but once you understand the tone of the book, it also makes you appreciate the humor a lot more because it does a good job of balancing the heavy topics with this lighthearted humor. And it is genuinely funny. The reason I would also want to reread this is because I read a lot of it on audio. Oh, I found tabs and a bookmark in here. That's always a good feeling. I thought the tabs looked so good. I thought they matched really freaking well, and I was so happy about that. I read this for Noella 7 Pages' Silly Goose Book Club. I gave this 4 stars, and it's a high possibility that if I do reread it and absorb everything more and not just rush through it for the book club and not just rush through the audiobook, if I read it fully physically, I think it could potentially be a 5-star. Next 3, we have Girl from the Other Side Volume 9, The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner, which was my book club pick for the month of April. We had the live show in May, so I read it in May. And then Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Burning, Girl from the Other Side Volume 9. I almost forget I even picked that one because I was so distracted by these 2 bright yellow books. Yellowface, I would reread, hands down, 5 stars. R.F. Kuang, again, a genius, brilliant. This is told from the perspective of our antagonist. This white woman whose Asian friend unexpectedly dies, and she was this like best-selling author, and then she finds her manuscript, like her journal with everything, and like this unfinished manuscript, and she claims it as her own. The story is about like Chinese history and everything, and she just has to pass it off and justify all this racism and wrong things that she just keeps doing, and like the wrong things that the publishing industry is doing. So it has a lot of really good discussions. It also has a thriller aspect to it towards the end. Definitely highly recommend. Definitely gonna read all of R.F. Kuang's books. I love the tabs for this too. I used yellow and gray. It was frustrating, it's infuriating to read, especially as an Asian woman, but it's brilliant because R.F. Kuang manages to write from this white woman's perspective and just like kind of like makes you check yourself, makes you think of things different ways possibly, and just makes you mad because you know, if you're a decent human being, you know that pretty much everything she was doing and justifying in her head was just plain wrong. And R.F. Kong did a brilliant job of like making that come off as such, and she just knows what she's doing and she knows how to convey what she wants to convey. She knows how to say what she wants to say and what she means in a very articulate, creative, but also straightforward way. The London Seance Society I would rewrite. This was honestly kind of disappointing. I gave this one 3 stars, and this was one of my most highly anticipated of the year because I loved The Lost Apothecary, and that was my very first book club pick ever, so it holds a special place in my heart, and I was really excited for the author's sophomore novel. But I would rewrite this. Honestly, I would take out the romance in this. It didn't need a romance. It really didn't. It just took me out of the story. It was dumb. It felt dumb. I was like, the character has bigger problems, but she's focusing on this other woman's lips, and I'm like, so that was frustrating for me. And the plot in general, I just wanted more like riveting scenes. It just fell a little bit flat for me, so I would rewrite it somehow to make it, I guess, more action-packed. But I did like all the seance fun facts and the vibes of it all. Like, Sarah Penner does atmosphere really well, like the Victorian Gothic atmosphere. Definitely felt those vibes. I'm so hungry. Joey bought Taco Bell and I want to just eat my nacho fries already. Girl from the Other Side Volume 7, already a burn. Then we have Highway with Green Apples, Chasing Pacquiao. I would reread Chasing Pacquiao. This is the arc given to me by Penguin Teen. I also did a little collab moment with them. They asked me to do an Instagram reel promoting this book, and I did the Wes Anderson trend, and it was super fun to film. But basically, this is a gay teen who loves boxing and who hasn't come out yet, but his boyfriend is already out, and like, you get, you know, the pressures from people around you to come out. And then he finds out that his idol, Manny Pacquiao, who's like one of the greatest boxers of all time and who I loved and cherished and watched every fight of growing up, he finds out that he is actually homophobic and just has all these negative stances towards the queer community, and it's just heartbreaking for him to find out that, you know, his idol is against everything he is. And so he navigates that whole thing, and then there's like a friendship dynamic in here, there's humor, but there are also a lot of brutal trigger warnings when it comes to like bullying and abuse. Definitely check out trigger warnings. There's homophobia, there's racism, there's a lot in this. There's a lot packed in what, like 250 pages. So I would definitely reread this, and obviously I'm Filipino, so I loved the Filipino rep as well. And then I would rewrite Highway with Green Apples, just make it longer. I wanted to get to know the main character, but couldn't really do it in 50 pages or whatever. So I gave Highway with Green Apples 3 stars, just because, yeah, I just didn't feel connected to the character, but I liked reading about her, so I would make it longer. And Chasing Pacquiao I gave 4 stars. Then I have Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier, which I listened to on audio. Kim Ji-young, Born 1982 by Cho Nam-ju. And then Babel. Okay, I already said I would reread Babel, so there's that. I would probably burn Things We Do in the Dark because it was a thriller. I know the twist. I don't need to reread it, and I kind of guessed, I think, one of the twists, but I did enjoy Things We Do in the Dark. I gave that one 4 stars, and Jennifer Hillier is half Filipino, so there was Filipino rep in that too, so I enjoyed that. But that one was about a wife who got accused of murdering her husband, who's like significantly older and has money. I read 2 Jennifer Hillier books this month, so I get them confused, but I think I liked this one better than Little Secrets, but I think I gave both of them 4 stars. But anyway, Kim Ji-young. This was the last book I read in May. Gave it 4 stars. It's super short. It's basically following this lady in Korea who is navigating life and dealing with all this misogyny, and so it has all this social commentary and discussions and like facts about Korean history and how women were treated and just being a woman in Korea in general. This was pitched to me as like a weird book, but I didn't really see anything weird about it. Maybe I should reread it at some point and see if I missed something, because it felt kind of rushed because I knew it was super short and I just kind of wanted to finish another book in the month, not gonna lie. But I did tab a lot and I learned a lot from this book, but I would have to rewrite it in this scenario, and I don't know how. I'll take out the pregnancy scene situation. There were a lot of pages about pregnancy and being a mother, and like, I get it, it's part of being a woman. It gave way for the author to include facts about maternity leave in Korea and how unjust it was and everything. So I understood why it was there, but I personally would just take it out. The Spy Family Volume 7. Oh god, why do I feel like there are gonna be 2 manga in this? Garlic and the Vampire and Morrigan by Mary E. Pearson. Would reread Garlic and the Vampire, already talked about it. would burn Spy Family, whatever volume that was. And then Morgan, I guess I would reread. The illustrations were stunning. This is the prequel to the Kiss of Deception series. I'm not sure what the series is actually called, but I do want to read it because I own Dance of Thieves. I just want to know what the hype's about. And I know it's like one of those like classic YA that like everyone has read already, but I haven't. So I decided to read the prequel first because it was short, and I think I was in some sort of readathon. I don't even know. And it had pretty illustrations. I also had the audiobook at some point throughout it, and it didn't like match up. I think it was like an abridged version or something. It said unabridged, but like the edition that I had, at least physically from the library, it was definitely, it had a lot more than what the audiobook was reading. So I feel like I missed a lot. I'm losing steam, can you tell? Girl from the Other Side volume 8, Girl from the Other Side volume 11, fuck my life. And then Piercing. Oh god. I would honestly burn all of these if I could, but I don't even remember. I guess I'd burn volume 8, rewrite volume 11 because it was almost done, and that was better than volume 8 because I knew I was almost done with the series. I don't remember what happened in volume. Wait, was volume 8 the one with the backstory? Whichever one had the backstory of how the two met, I would burn the other one, okay? That makes sense. It was probably volume 8, right? So I would burn volume 11, rewrite volume 8 to take out all the other parts that involve everything outside their little home with like the humans and everything. And then Piercing, I guess I would reread, even though I gave it 2 stars. That was for Unmuted and Unhinged. Sprints, I don't know. It felt a little bit rushed, so I guess I would reread in that sense if I had to, but I hated it. It was just lackluster for me, but I would read it for the... Was there even gore? I don't even remember. There were a couple parts that I would want to reread if I had to. All we knew about it was this guy was trying to fight this urge to like kill his baby, stab him with this thing, ice pick, something like that, some sharp weapon. We have The Sacrifice by Rin Chapeko, The Vegetarian by Han Kong, which I listened to on audio, again while I was doing my paint by numbers. The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Kopp. I would burn The Sacrifice. I'm actually selling this one, so again, if you're interested, pain goes down below. I just didn't like the Hollywood aspect of this at all. I will be giving Rin Chapeko a second chance and a third chance and however many more because I have a lot of their books and they're Filipino. So I did like the Filipino rep in this. I think it was very well done with the language and the food talk and everything like that, and the family discussions. I did like the creepy atmosphere of this like eerie island where this mysterious thing was going on, and the reveals were cool. I gave this one 3 stars, but I don't want it on my shelves anymore. The Vegetarian, I would rewrite. There was this one part like towards the end where I was like, why is this dragging on for that long? It's such a short book, like we don't have time for this. So I would just either take that out or make it shorter. But that was a really weird book. It was a really good audiobook. This woman who just suddenly stopped eating meat, and then weird shit started happening, and there were all these like nightmares involved, and the family and the husband were just confused. There's this whole like hospital situation as well with her sister, and then there's this like painter in, I think it was part 2. Was it a painter or filmmaker? Something like that. But it got really weird really quickly, and I gave that one 4 stars. And then I would reread The Salt Grows Heavy, gave it 4 stars like I said, and I loved it. I read it in one sitting, loved the writing. Definitely will reread it because I want to annotate this book because I read a library copy. Almost done. The Butcher and the Wren, Girl from the Other Side volume 10, burn. What My Bones Know. Okay, What My Bones Know, reread. This one's really easy. Obviously, already talked about it. Butcher and the Wren, I would rewrite. There was one really predictable thing that a lot of thrillers do, so I would change that about it, rewrite that. I enjoyed this though. I gave it 4 stars. I liked the reveals. I liked how short and quick it was. I liked the perspective from the serial killer. I buddy read this with Joey and Sarah from Sarah Shelves, and it was a fun time. I'm almost done. I'm sweating. Okay, I either forgot to write one down or... Oh wait, no. I would have 1 wild card because 11 times 3 is 33. I'm fucking stupid. Garlic and the Witch, Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier, which I briefly talked about earlier, and then Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. Untethered Sky, would reread. Love this novella. It involves manticores. I learned what a manticore is. It involves these like big birds called rocks and ruckers who are the trainers for these big birds, and this girl is basically training these big birds to attack manticores, which are these like lion dragon things, because one of them freaking ate her little brother when they were younger, and it was under her supervision, so she feels all guilty, so she needed revenge. And it's super short, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it a 5, I said this in my vlog, it might have been for Patreon. Yeah, I finished it during a 24-hour readathon first thing in the morning, but the only thing that didn't make it 5 stars for me was the ending. It was very damsel in distress, it was very cliche, and I just expected higher for this particular book because it was just so good everywhere else. And the ending, I was just like, really? I mean, it was a good ending, I just wanted something else. And I liked the romance in it, but whatever. Little Secrets I would rewrite. Oh, there was this one predictable ass thing in that as well. The same predictable thing from The Butcher and the Wren. Like I said, a lot of thrillers have been doing it lately, at least the ones that I've been picking up, so I would change that. I think you should just go into this one blind, to be honest, because there's a lot going on at once. I don't even know what's a spoiler or not, so sorry, I'm gonna let y'all look that up on your own. But I gave that one 4 stars as well. But I like Things We Do in the Dark more than that one. I am interested in reading Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier though, because everyone says that one's really good. And then Garlic and the Witch I just burn, because if I'm gonna reread one of them, it's gonna be Garlic and the Vampire. And then the last one is Girl from the Other Side Volume 12. This one I'd actually reread. Plot twist. No, because this one's like all vibes, no plot. This is what I wanted the entire series to be. It was just story after story about this little girl and this monster living their lives, being funny and cute and wholesome. But that was the last one, like I said, and the last one in this wrap up. I have to go live now for Patreon, so I'm gonna bid you adieu and leave you here, and I'm gonna eat my Taco Bell. If you made it to the end of this video, let's put a trophy emoji in the comments down below, because this is the best reading month I had in terms of quantity ever. That's that. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and agree or disagree or whatever you think about them in the comments down below. I hope y'all had a great day. Stay safe and stay spooky always, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye!